Hello, welcome to the student walkthrough video for Paper 2, Question 2 on the British Depth Study. In this video, we are going to be focusing on Question 2, looking at how the question is constructed, how to answer the question, and tips on what makes a good answer. We have other videos available which will guide you through this paper as a whole. And there are also videos so that you can work through each question in detail. Question 2 on your British Depth Study paper will ask you to explain why an event or development in history happened. This question focuses on causation. It is worth 12 marks. We advise that you spend 20 minutes answering this question, 25 minutes if you have extra time. Try to use 2 of those minutes for thinking, planning time. Using knowledge in addition to the stimulus points can help you to achieve a higher mark. You do not need to write an introduction or conclusion. This means you do not need to write more than 3 paragraphs. Today we are going to focus on this question from the early Elizabethan England paper. Explain why the Spanish Armada was defeated. First of all, you should look for the focus of the question, what you need to explain. And in this case, it's that word defeated, and we've underlined it in red for you. What was it that happened that meant the Spanish Armada fouled? Secondly, you should look for the historical event that you need to focus on. We've underlined this in blue for you, the Spanish Armada. And a reminder here, use about 2 minutes to think through your answer, to think what are the reasons for why the Spanish Armada fouled. On high mark questions, such as the explain why questions, we provide you with 2 stimulus points. And you are also instructed to use information of your own. This means you should aim to write about 3 aspects of content in your answer to be able to score highly on the question. Examiners are looking for a wide range of knowledge. However, don't worry if you are only able to write about the 2 stimulus points. Examiners will still reward you for doing this. Examiners try to choose stimulus points that will be familiar to students, but don't panic if you don't recognise one of them or can't remember much about it. You don't have to use our stimulus points, and you are free to write about what you know in your answers. Here we have some other explain why questions from the other British Depth Study papers. This question is constructed in the same way across all papers. So have a look for a question on the paper that you are sitting. As I said, underlined in red is what you need to explain. And underlined in blue is the knowledge that you need to use to support this explanation. Don't worry if you can't think what a stimulus point is getting at. And don't worry if you can't think of something else to add. Just remember, write about what you know. So let's return to our question from the early Elizabethan England paper. Explain why the Spanish Armada was defeated. So to answer this question, you need to explain why there was a defeat. For example, the experience of Sir Francis Drake, the tactics used, or the Spanish ships. You can make the same point in 2 paragraphs using different knowledge. So once you have explained why there was defeat, you should support your explanation with knowledge of the Spanish Armada. For example, the successes of Sir Francis Drake, the use of fire ships, or your knowledge that the Spanish ships were not well suited to the conditions in the Channel. Here is a great example of where a student has taken time to think about their answer. I said at the beginning to use up to 2 minutes for thinking planning time. And here we can see a student has done this. The planning is just using keywords. Keywords are enough. But a plan like this can lead to a high scoring answer. There is not one way of approaching a paragraph or an answer, but your examiner will be looking for 3 things in your paragraphs, so try to include them. If we take out question from the early Elizabethan England paper, the examiner will be looking for a clear reason for the defeat. They will be looking for knowledge about the Spanish Armada to support the reason and explanation. And across the answer, they will be looking for the use of 3 aspects of knowledge. The candidate should also go on to explain how this led to the defeat of the Spanish Armada. So what makes a good answer then? You should try to use the words from the question to start your answer. Start each paragraph with a direct focus on the question. Use connectives to explain the focus of the question. And use your knowledge to support your explanation. Try not to just describe what you can remember. That brings us to the end of this walkthrough video. In this video, we have looked at how you should answer question 2 on paper 2, the British depth study of your GCSE History exam. We hope you have found it useful. Remember that we have videos for every question on each paper available. You can also find more information for students on our website in the course materials section under student support.